Last week, asking you how practice is going and stuff, you said on Tuesday you had to kind of get on them a little bit, kick it up. How has practice been this week so far?
Yeah, well, it, to be honest with you, it feels different out there. Very physical. Has been really good morale. Um, we've got some things to clean up, obviously, but it's hard. If you're worried about effort or passion or anything like that, which I'm not saying we didn't have it. We didn't have it as much as we do this week, but I think we're ready to play, and we've got to take Monday and Tuesday and make it Wednesday. But you can just feel it's a little bit different out there this week, and it feels good.
I was curious on the routine for Friday night. Like if you guys have stuff
Yeah,
planned to go to a movie, I don't know if teams do different things.
yeah. Am I right, um, Kyle? That the first time we went on the road and we played a night game, we went to the movies and we won, didn't we? Didn't we beat Mississippi State? So that kind of was a staple of. We did it all the time when I was at Georgia. If it's a night game, you go to the movies. So we got a movie set up for. I can't remember the name of it. Samuel L. Jackson, right? No, who's it? Yeah, Denzel Washington. You can't go wrong, whatever it is. So we're going to go to the movies uh, Friday night.
And on Saturday, is it as simple as just like moving the schedule back a little bit, or is there more filler stuff?
Well, we feel, in other words, a lot of times if it's a morning game or early game, you'll have chapel on the night before and all those type things. What we do, we go for a team walk. Differently, we go for a team walk. We'll have about a 15 to 20-minute meeting with our position on that day. And then that's probably the only addition. Obviously, you have one more meal, so you have some time in there for that. But that's probably the only addition that you would do for a night game versus a day game is you get up a little later. You would obviously have one meal. You'd have a team walk. Then you would come back with some meetings. Then you'd have a little lengthier break in between the meetings and when you come back for the walkthroughs, Trey.
Thanks, Coach.
That's probably Equalizer 3, which I want to see.
That's what it is. Is it good?
Well, some of the other Equalizers have been really good. So
yeah,
if it follows, that's good. Hey, so on Monday we saw the linebackers hitting each other, and it was about as vicious like as a game. And you probably saw that when you watched the film that day.
Yeah.
Is that how hard y'all wanted to be hitting that day?
Well, we didn't wrap up very good, and so the only way I know how to get better at it is to go do it. Now I'll be honest with you, I was out there watching it live too, and I was like, man, I mean, they were getting after it, and every group was having a tackling circuit, but this one right here, it drew your attention to it because of the noise that was going on. But yeah, a lot of strong hitting right there, and we just. We didn't wrap up very good Saturday, and we want to make sure we emphasized it.
So I'm taking that's part of what you mean by the vibe. And what else do you mean by the vibe? Just more attention?
I think the meetings are gone better. You can just feel it. Sometimes you walk in a room and you've had different situations where you feel that you're at an event. You feel it, and I felt Monday it was just different. It was locked in, laser focus. I mean, a lot of the times when you're having to tell them to do something or, transition, fits, all these type things, strain, you're on them all the time about it. It's a lot better when they just do it themselves. And I guess that's what I'm talking about. It hadn't had to be a lot of correcting physical strain, pursuit, things of that nature that on a week-to-week basis you may have to do it a time or two. This week it hasn't been like that. We understand that this is a big game for us, and BYU's averaged almost 10 wins a season in the last 3 years. They're on a 6-game winning streak. We know that they have revenge, things of that nature. So we know it's a big game for us. Best opponent we played by far. So we know it's a big game for us.
You like how Dwight's looking this week? Think he might be back in there regular?
He's practiced both days. He's still got a little tenderness in that toe, but I believe that he'll be ready to play on Saturday.
Okay. Hey, the last thing I wanted to say was you mentioned fits in the run game, and Brady Latham mentioned that too, that working on the fits. What have you seen from working on the fits this week?
Yeah, after Monday's practice, I took about 6 of them out of there that I felt like we weren't fit where we need to be. But of all those plays, the other ones we were. So, you either control your destiny or he does. It depends on your shoulder level and your fit. And, let me explain it like this. Some plays, you're taking your backside shoulder and you're fitting it inside his near shoulder. Sometimes you're taking your backside shoulder, you're fitting it half of his body. Sometimes you're taking your shoulder and fitting all of him. If you're off on those fits, that means that you're off on where the play has opportunities to go. So if I don't cut anybody out of their gap, then everything gets spilled to safeties. We have to cut guys out of gaps so we can have, if it's an A gap play, we have to be able to hit it in the A gap. Now, you're not always going to be able to do that, but you have to some of the time. So then linebackers, they misfit. All those things, tight ends were not very good in their fits. I mean, we're running a duo play and we're kicking it outside the tight end. It's supposed to go front side to backside A gap. Now, AJ got 8 yards on whatever the play was. That ain't the point. The point is that we're not fit right. So we're not giving the back every opportunity to make yards. And once we get our fits better, I think that'll help us.
Hey, Sam, that was all too technical for me, I think. But hey, I wanted to ask a couple things about Pooh Paul. He obviously was banged up in the fall. I know you mentioned he missed both scrimmages, and then he wasn't able to, fully play either of the first 2 games because of targeting stuff. Just kind of what have you seen from him maybe this week about being really anxious, just kind of let it all hang out?
Yeah, I had a good talk with him. He did play some good ball in the second half Saturday, and I'm expecting. We thought going into camp that he was going to be as good a linebacker as we have, and unfortunately, from whatever reasons, what you just mentioned, we haven't seen that. But we got a little glimpse of it last week. I expect him to have a great game. He's practiced well, so I expect him to grab some confidence, and with that, he's got a lot of talent.
Yeah, and with him clicking, and we know he's a younger guy, but he seems like a real good team leader. Just what all does he mean to you guys?
A lot, by some of the things you just said. He's such a really good kid. He's a hard worker, but he has special speed. I mean, he's he can make plays a little faster than what a lot of guys can. And and I know that a yard difference, half a yard difference, is a big deal in being able to get a guy on the ground. So I think what we've got to do is get confidence in him first, and then he'll get it it'll wear over to the team. But I think he's going to have a really good game.
And then we were talking to Kalani on Monday, and I know you guys spoke highly of each other last year, but man, just gushing about you like you're his favorite uncle or something. I know, coaches, I'm sure y'all like each other and respect each other, or most of the time you do, but you guys seem to have a real strong connection. I was wondering maybe what's going on there where y'all seem to hit it off so well.
Well, we know we have mutual friends, which started it. And then I knew Kingsley, their left tackle, knew his parents. They rave about Kalani. And so I already knew some people that told me several wonderful things about him. And then I just like the way his team plays. But if you talk in the coaching circles, he's one of the most well-respected guys in the country. And then you go and play them. Their team plays extremely hard. They're well coached, but they're very disciplined. I just have a lot of respect for him as a family man, as how he runs his business, and he was very kind to me when we went out there last year. And it's not, and when you lose, obviously we were fortunate we won. It's hard to say some things after the game. It's hard, but he was very respectful of the team and myself and all those things, even after the win. So, it's easy to be a good guy when you win. It's hard whenever you lose. It just hard is, and that's in about anything.
Thanks.
Otis.
Yeah, Coach, there's been quite a bit said about the game, but AJ Green has 19 carries for 104 yards. That's about 5.5 yards a carry. Talk about how AJ's maybe stepped into a bigger role there with Rocket.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, he has.
for you.
And I think, I just wish that we started faster. I think AJ has gotten into a groove as the game has gone on. We need him to start a little bit faster. The line has a lot to do. Tight end, a lot of people have a lot to do with that. But yeah, I think almost 5 yards a carry and or a little over 5 yards a carry and doing a good job holding. All of them's holding on the ball well, doing things that I think RW may had a fumble against Western Carolina, but yeah, he's running with his pads down. I think we made a big challenge on the running backs too. Obviously we've done a lot of talking about the offensive line and all that kind of stuff, but there's a whole lot of things that go into rushing the football, the offensive line included, but the backs have a lot to do with that too. We've all seen 80-yard runs where you don't block a soul and the guy just breaks it and gone. We just haven't had that yet. And right now we've had to be pretty picture perfect to have success running the football. AJ has made some of those runs that we may or may not have been perfect on, and he's made yards.
KJ brought up the same point you just did about AJ getting stronger as the game goes along. KJ brought that up on Saturday. Hey, do you think the Liberty Bowl helped his confidence some?
Yeah, I think so. I think him and RW, I think it did. Anytime, I think it's a lot about how we approach things too. I mean, we feel like whomever we put out there, we can win the game with. And I think that goes to the team, and then it obviously builds confidence in the player that's out there doing it. But yes, I believe that had a lot to do with him, and to be honest with you, with RW as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Coach.
Coach.
Yeah, Sam, I got a couple of linebacker questions. Jordan Crook, I know he started week 1. I don't know if we saw him out there much on defense this past week. What's he got to do to get back in that rotation?
Well, he's obviously a lot of things, that each and every player at any position has to do. He's got to be more consistent with his mental part of the game. Got to wrap up a little bit better in tackling. Sometimes if you're 3 or you're 4, sometimes the opportunities of playing just aren't there. Obviously, Antonio was here last week when he wasn't the week before. But there's nothing wrong with Crook. It's just he needed to practice a little bit better and do some things, which he has this week. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if he's out there playing some ball for us on Saturday.
And then Brad Spence obviously had the pick 6 in week 1. Y'all gave him the start this past weekend. Just how would you assess his second game out there?
Well, I think he played maybe 13 plays or something, 19 or 13. Not as many plays as what we might have thought going. The game didn't go quite like we thought it would there in the first half. But I think that he's very physical. He's getting more and more confident. I think he's going to be a really good linebacker in the future. And obviously, we felt like he was ready for that start, which he was. But he's young. I mean, he's way ahead of young, but I think we'll play him, and he'll get quite a bit better as the season goes on too, because he's very physical and can really run.
Scotty.
Yeah, Sam, I know you talked about Nudie earlier. What's the confidence in Keon Stewart if you need him to give you snaps again this weekend for whatever reason, and maybe what gave you confidence in him last week?
Well, Keon has played ball before he got here, first of all. And so, but in practice and two-a-days, we saw a really good athletic guy. Obviously, he didn't know the system quite as well. We could have went with Braxton as well. I think you'll see Braxton this weekend. Because I think he's had a really good week of practice. But I think you asked about Stewart, and I think you might have asked about Nudie as well. But I think I answered the one about Nudie. I think he'll be ready. But Keon, basically, we thought he was older. He'd played in games before. We went with that as a start. We were playing pretty well, and so that's why we stuck with him.
Wrap us up, Jackson.
Sam, after the game on Saturday, you mentioned how you had some, plans for KJ running the football in short yardage situations, and you had to adjust. I'm just curious, like wanting to maybe only run KJ in short yardage. Was that opponent specific Saturday, or is that a trend maybe you'd like to see throughout the whole year where you kind of maybe don't run him as much as you have in years past, except when you need to in those short yardage situations?
That's a great question. To answer the question, it was opponent driven. We really didn't want to run him much if we didn't have to in the first two games. From now on out, it's a different story. And so we're just going to run, whatever we think we can get the most yards, score the most points. We did not necessarily do that in the first two games, simply because taking him out of the running game cuts down quite a bit of offense, when you're not giving him that option to run. So that has been, we've got big time opponents coming up. So we got to do whatever it is. If that's running him or throwing him or both, we got to do whatever it is to win the game.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Go Hogs.